Good afternoon. From the previous reports about precipitation, wherein precipitation is any liquid or frozen water that forms in the atmosphere, falls back to the earth. It comes in many forms: rain, sleet, and snow, along with evaporation and condensation. Pero mag-focus lang tayo sa evaporation. Yan. When precipitation comes to the Earth's surface, it produces runoff. All the precipitation that comes to the Earth's surface does not contribute to runoff kasi nga nag-evaporate and nag-infiltrate yung iba. Some part of it disappears. Wherein, sa infiltration, nag-compute na din tayo kung paano makuha yung infiltration rate sa specific na area. Infiltration rate sa soil. Yan. These losses are also called the obstruction from precipitation. The removal, or yun nga yung losses from precipitation. Evaporation is the process by which water changes from a liquid to a gas or vapor. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius, but it actually begins to evaporate at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. It just occurs extremely slowly. As the temperature increases, the rate of evaporation also increases. The amount of evaporation depends on the temperature, and it also depends on the amount of the water there is to evaporate. For example, there is not much evaporation occurring to the desert. Although it can get extremely hot in the desert, it just sand lang siya. Wala siyang masyadong water to be evaporated. Evaporation occurs most often in the oceans around the world. The oceans cover a vast majority of the earth from the poles to the equator. When we take a look at the temperature of the ocean water around the globe, we can see that the rate of evaporation near the equator is greater due to the temperature increase. Evaporation is the process in which a liquid changes to the gaseous state at the free surface below the boiling point through the transfer of heat. Simple lang, from liquid to gas. Kapag nag-transfer yung heat energy sa water molecule, evaporation occurs. The bonds that hold the water molecules together breaks. Example na lang kapag nagpapakulo ka ng tubig. You're adding heat to liquid water. Siyempre, kapag nagdadagdag ka ng force, the energy force wherein yung heat, this added heat breaks the bonds na magkakos sa water to shift mula sa kanyang liquid state to its gaseous state, or the water vapor, which we know as steam. Nag-i-increase yung kinetic energy ng water molecule and then tend to leave the surface of water body. During evaporation, the more energetic particles escape from the surface, leaving the less energetic ones behind.
So, the physics of evaporation process is based on the process of providing sufficient energy for breaking the bonds between water molecules. The fact of supplying the system with heat causes water molecules to become increasingly movable, which results in increase in distance between them. So here are the three factors that may affect the rate of evaporation, which is vapor pressure, density, and specific heat. One factor that controls the rate of evaporation is vapor pressure. The rate of evaporation slows as the air stays above and air-dry interface becomes more saturated with water molecules. The equilibrium situation defines vapor pressure. So, one of the example of vapor pressure is kapag nagpapakulo tayo ng tubig sa kettle. Habang kumukulo yung tubig dun sa loob ng kettle, doon na din nabubuo yung vapor pressure. So, makikita natin yun kapag tinanggal natin yung takip ng kettle. Makikita natin lumalabas yung usok. So, yun na yung tinatawag na vapor pressure. So, that is, vapor pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by a vapor into thermodynamic equilibrium with its condensed phases, liquid or solid, at a given temperature in a closed system. So, other factor is density. Density affects the rate of evaporation, where a higher density has a lower rate of evaporation. Liquids that have a higher density experience greater internal forces since their molecules are closer with each other. Other factor is specific heat. Specific heat in evaporation refers to the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of water by 1 degree Celsius. Water has a relatively high specific heat capacity, meaning it can absorb and retain a significant amount of heat energy. This property plays a role in evaporation by influencing the temperature changes during the process. The high specific heat of water helps regulate the temperature of the liquid during evaporation.
Another important mechanism which is influence the mass transfer of water is the transpiration process, which is based on the concept of a continuous pumping by growing plants of water from the soil, which is base moved up to leaves and lost through biological process in vegetation into the atmosphere. However, under field conditions, it is not possible to separate evaporation from transpiration totally. Those we are generally concerned with the water loss or evapotranspiration from a basin. The sum of the soil interception and open water evaporation and transpiration is called evapotranspiration. The term potential evapotranspiration, the maximal or F, it is by definition the rate of evapotranspiration from an extended surface of an 8 to 15 cm tall green grass cover actually growing, completely shading the ground and not short of water. The term actual evapotranspiration, or the ETA, is by definition the rate of the evapotranspiration from a surface under field conditions and with limited water supply. Under those conditions, the actual evapotranspiration is much less than the potential, especially if the soil water storage capacity is limited. In order to illustrate the ratio and the contribution of the above-mentioned processes, an example for Germany is given. The evaporation of free water bodies is 2.2%, interception of 16%, and transpiration of 72.6% of the total evapotranspiration. According to Keeler 1979, the amount of total evapotranspiration to the amount of the precipitation is 64%. At a global scale, evapotranspiration and precipitation are the principal elements of the hydrological cycle. Evapotranspiration rate depends on different parameters, areal and temporal variable. Those parameters are defined considering atmosphere, soil, and type of vegetation cover. While it is possible to assess accurately those parameters for open water and the atmosphere, it is very difficult to quantify forces in soil and vegetation cover. In soil, for example, the forces depend on the radius of the capillaries, and in vegetation, this process is regulated through small pores of the leaves or yung stomata. Soil, plants, and atmosphere form parts of the continuous flow in which water moves at varying rates. In soil, water moves under the influence of moisture gradient toward the roots of the plants. It is then absorbed and travels up the plant stem to the plant leaves, from where it finally vaporizes. Plants can control transpiration by varying the opening of the stomata. In that way, they can prevent dehydration. That is for the physics of evaporation. Wherein, hindi mo pwedeng ipaghiwalay yung evaporation and transpiration kasi magkakonekta yan. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong evapotranspiration.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Karen Kalian, and I am going to talk about the most important factors affecting evaporation. Number 1 is the temperature. As the temperature increases, the rate of evaporation increases. This means rate of evaporation is directly proportional to the temperature. Kinetic energy of surface molecules increases with increase in temperature. This helps the molecules to overcome the force of attraction and subsequently turn into vapor. Reduction in temperature has the opposite effect. For example, clothes dry faster in summer than in winter. Second is the surface area. As the surface area increases, the rate of evaporation increases. A greater surface area means a greater number of particles on the surface which are ready to evaporate. A smaller surface area means a smaller number of particles on the surface available for evaporation. For example, you need to spread wet clothes on the line, and when wet cloth is spread, it allows a greater surface area exposed for evaporation. Number 3 is the humidity. The rate of evaporation decreases with an increase in humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor present in air. You can also say that the amount of moisture in air is called humidity. High humidity means presence of more water in air, and low humidity means less amount of water present in the air. You may have noticed, majority of the people sweat profusely in rainy season. In fact, rate of sweating can be more during summer, but the sweat evaporates quickly during summer and hence the skin appears to be dry. During rainy season, the sweat does not evaporate easily because of high humidity and hence the skin appears to be perpetually soaked in water. And lastly, the wind speed. As the wind speed increases, the rate of evaporation increases. High-speed wind propels away the molecules at the surface. As a result, rate of evaporation increases. Clouds dry up faster on a windy day. This shows the effect of wind speed on evaporation. During winter, people often put wet cloths under ceiling fan in order to dry them quickly. This is another example of effect of wind speed on the rate of evaporation. And that would be all. Thank you for listening.
So, good morning everyone. I am April Joy Galdaran. I'm here to report about the rate of evaporation. So, rate of evaporation defines as the amount of water evaporated from a unit surface area per unit of time. It can be expressed as the mass volume of a liquid water evaporated per area in unit of time. Usually, as the equivalent depth of liquid water evaporated per unit of time from the whole area. Here, there are two methods of measurement of evaporation, which is the direct methods and the indirect methods. So, good morning. As I have said earlier, we have two methods of evaporation measurement, and one of these is the water budget techniques, which involves the solving in water budget maintenance. So, dito, nasa-solve yung evaporation, which indicates that the evaporation is equal to I minus O plus minus change in S. So, yung I dito, ang ini-indicate niya is yung inflow into soil reservoir. Samantalang yung O naman is yung deep percolation. And yung change in S, it indicates the change in storage. So, dito, hindi natin siya solve. Kasama lang siya sa pag-solve ng ibang problems about evaporation. So, dito sa I, kapag hindi siya given, ang formula is irrigation water plus precipitation plus incoming soil water contribution from surrounding plus the groundwater. And sa O naman is the deep percolation, which is equal to O is equal to RO plus SSQ plus DP plus N plus E. So, itong change in storage given na siya kapag. So, now we were going to talk about lysimeter. So, what is lysimeter? So, lysimeter is a measuring device which can be used to measure the amount of actual evapotranspiration which is released by plants. Usually, crops or trees by recording the amount of precipitation that an area receives and the amount lost through the soil. So, the amount weighable lysimeter are a tool for water balance studies and solute transport determination. So, there are two types of lysimeter, which is weighing and non-weighing.
I am Shamir Sintlogan, and next I'll be discussing pond evaporation. So for evaporation ponds, these are most widely used for measuring evaporations. It is affected by the size, depth, and location of the pond. So here in our PowerPoint presentation, we have 4 types. And the first type is the Class A evaporation pond. The second one is the ISI standard pond and the US Geological Survey floating pond. So the first type is the Class A evaporation pond. It is a standard pond of 1,210 mm diameter and a 225 mm used by the US Weather Bureau. The depth of the water is maintained between 18 cm and 20 cm. The pond is normally made of unpainted galvanized iron sheet. So the pictures from the PowerPoint presentation is one of the sample of that. Next, we have the ISI standard pond, or also known as modified Class A pond. It consists of a pond 1,220 mm in diameter with 225 mm of depth. The pond is made of copper sheet of 0.9 mm thickness, tinned inside and painted white outside. The evaporation at this pond is found to be less by about 40% to that from unscreened. The evaporation at this pond is found to be less by about 40% to that from unscreened pond. So the picture depicts the sample. So for our third type of evaporation pond, we have Colorado sunken pond. This pond is about 920 mm square and 460 mm deep, and made up of unpainted galvanized iron sheet and buried into the ground within 100 mm of the top. So for the last one, we have the US Geological Survey floating pond. With a view to stimulate the characteristics of a large body of water, this square pond is usually 900 mm side and 450 mm depth, and is supported by drum floats in the middle of a rock measured by 4.25 mm by 4.87 meter is set afloat in a lake. So next, we have the pond coefficient, or simply denoted as CP. Evaporation ponds are not exact models of large reservoirs and have the following principal drawbacks. The first is that they differ in the heat distorting capacity and heat transfer from the side and bottom. Second, the height of the rim in an evaporation pond affects the wind action over the surface. Third, the heat transfer characteristics of the pond material is different from that of the reservoir. So for the pond coefficient, we have a formula of lake evaporation over pond evaporation. So the table presented in the PowerPoint presentation is the range of values of the coefficient of the ponds that I have mentioned earlier. So the experimental values for pond coefficients range from 0.67 to 0.82 with an average of 0.7.
So now we were going to solve a sample problem about evaporation. Here is sample number 1. The following are the monthly pond evaporation data from January to December at Afghanistan in a certain year in centimeter. Which follows, the data is 16.7, 14.3, 17.8, 25, 28.6, 21.4, 16.7, 16.7, 16.7, 21.4, 16.7, and lastly 16.7. So the water spread area in the lake nearby in the beginning of January in that year was 2.80 square kilometer, and at the end of December it was measured as 2.55 square kilometer. Calculate the loss of water due to evaporation in that year, assuming a pond coefficient of 0.7. So given is, meron tayong area 1 which is equal to 2.80 square kilometer. Area 2 equal to 2.55 square kilometer. And yung data na naka-indicate dito, yung mga data na nakuha, is kukunin lang natin yung average nila, which is ito yung pinakonsider na annual loss of water due to evaporation. Pag-a-addin lang natin yung mga data kanila na nandito. Water due to evaporation. Yung mga data na yun is equal to 228.7 centimeter. Okay. So, sa solution natin ng pagkuha is kunin natin yung mean water spread area of lake. So, A average, average ng area equal to 1/3 times yung area 1 plus yung area 2 plus yung square root ng area 1 plus area 2. So this is cone formula, kaya siya 1/3. So equal siya sa 1/3. Yung area 1 natin is 2.80 plus 2.55 plus square root ng dalawang area 0.80 times 2.55. So yung average area natin ay equal sa 2.673 square kilometer. So ngayon naman, kukunin na natin yung annual volume of water loss due to evaporation, which is equal siya sa yung average area na nakuha natin kanina na 2.673. Tapos, ito, i-convert lang natin siya into liters kasi naka-kilometer siya. So, times 10 raised to -6 times yung nakuha natin annual loss of water due to evaporation. Yung data natin kanina, yung pinag-sum lang natin, ay pinag-add lang natin. Which is 228.7. Then, convert lang din natin ito na 100 ng meters kasi naka-centimeter siya, which is 100 times, I forgot to indicate, pero may given kasi dito na coefficient na 0.7, which is i-multiply natin siya dito sa annual volume of water. And now, yung value nito is 4.29 times 10 raised to 6 cubic meters. So, dito pwede natin siyang i-convert into millimeter, which is also equal to 4.29 cubic millimeter. Ay, sorry, square millimeter pala. Ito na yung final answer natin ng annual volume ng water loss due to evaporation.
So for next problem, compute the daily evaporation from a Class A pond if the amounts of water added to bring the level to the fixed point are as follows. So we have the table, and what is the evaporation loss of water in this week from a lake with a surface area of 640 hectare in the vicinity, assuming a pond coefficient of 0.75. So we have already the given, the pond coefficient which is 0.75 and the area which is the 640 hectares and the table. So first step is we need to get the pond evaporation, which is the rainfall plus the water added or minus the water removed. Malalaman natin na water removed siya pag yung water added, naka-indicate yun is negative sign. So, ibig sabihin, i-minus natin siya. So, for D1, we have 14 minus 5, we have a 980, and for D2, we have 6 plus 3, which is 9 also. And for D3, we have 12 plus 0, which is 12. And for D4, we have 8 plus 0, which is 8. And for D5, we have 0 plus 7, which is 7. And for D6, we have 5 plus the water added 4, we have 9. And for D7, we also have the rainfall of 6 plus water added 3, we have also 9. So, yung pan evaporation, kukunin lang natin yung solution niya. So, kukunin lang natin yung summation nito from day 1 to day 7. So, we have a pan evaporation in the weight of 650 milliliter. So, after natin makuha to, since given naman yung pan coefficient, isa-substitute lang natin siya dahil isang formula na L over we have pan coefficient, ang hinahanap natin dyan is yung lake evaporation during the week. So, EL is yung pan coefficient natin na 0.75 times yung nakuha natin pan evaporation in the week, which is 63. We have 47.25 ml. So then, since nakuha na natin yung lake evaporation during the week, which is 47.25, ang hinahanap sa problem ay yung water loss from the lake. So, ang gagawin natin is ita-times natin yung area na 640 hectare dun sa lake evaporation during the week. So, we have the area of 640 hectare times 47.25. So, pag isasawag natin yan, ang water loss from the lake, during the week, we have 30.24 hectare. So, ito yung final. So, this is the final answer to the problem. So, for our last problem in the direct method, we have the total observed runoff volume during a storm of 6-hour duration with a uniform intensity of 15 mm per hour is 21.6 million cubic meter. If the area of the basin is 300 kilometers square, find the average infiltration rate and the runoff coefficient for the basin. So we have the given T, which is 6R, and the intensity of 15 mm per hour, and the runoff of 21.6 million cubic millimeter, and the area of 300 square kilometer. And for the required, we have to find the average infiltration rate and the runoff coefficient. So for our solution, we need to find the infiltration loss, or the FE, is equal to rainfall minus runoff. So yung rainfall natin, we have 15, which is the intensity times 6, which is yung time. Tapos sa runoff naman natin, we have 21.6 over yung area, which is 300. Minus 1,000. So, pag isi-simplify natin itong sa rainfall, we have 90. Tapos sa runoff naman, we have 72. So, yung infiltration loss, we have a value of millimeter. Pero ito yung final answer. Ang kukunin naman natin is yung average infiltration rate. So, i-direct ito, gagawin natin ito sa next. So, yan. Direct substitution lang tayo dito. So, yung FP natin, ay ilagay lang natin substitute over yung time, which is 6R. Tapos, yan na, masasolve na natin yung average infiltration rate, which is 3 millimeter per hour. So, ito yung first answer natin sa unang hinahanap. And sa next, we are required to find the coefficient of the runoff coefficient. So, for that, direct lang dito, substitution sa formula na yield is equal to C times A times B. So, yung yield natin, ito siya. Is equal to C. Yan yung nahanap natin na runoff coefficient. Times yung area natin, we have 300. Tapos yung T, yung P naman, we have 90 yung sa kanina, over 1,000. So, sasolve lang natin siya. Therefore, ang runoff coefficient natin, using this equation, we are getting a runoff coefficient of 0.8. So, yan yung runoff coefficient ng problem.
Soluble liters per second. Therefore, the indirect method. Firstly, aerodynamic method of the mass transfer method. Mass transfer method is for estimating the actual evaporation of a body of water, assuming it is proportional to the product of wave velocity, the difference between the saturation vapor pressure at water surface, and the vapor pressure, the ambient air, and empirical mass transfer coefficient. Mass transfer method. Sample U is equal to 25 km per hour. ES is equals to 1,500 MB. EA is equals to 1,200 MB. Then substitute the given to the equation. 0.0269 multiplied by 1 plus 25 divided by 60 multiplied by 1,500 minus 1,200 is equals to 20.679. Convert to meter per second. E is equals to 2.39 10 raised to negative 6 meter per second. Energy budget method. The formula for energy budget method is the net radiation of the energy from the sun equals the energy used by evaporation, heating air, heating water, the energy used in heating the surrounding of water. Energy budget method. Rn is equals to E plus E plus S plus C. Sample crop. E is equals to 7,000 Newton. A is equals to 3,000 Newton. S is equals to 2,500 Newton. C is equals to 1,700 Newton. Rn is equals to 1,400 Newton. Penman equation. Penman formula is a semi-empirical equation combining mass transfer and energy balance method. The formula was developed in Penman in 1948 and is still widely used for calculating the potential evaporation using synoptic meteorological.
My name is Daniel Tobias, and I'll be discussing about the available methods procedure for estimating evaporation from open water. I'll be assigned for the methods for estimating potential evaporation, and my group mates will discuss about the methods of estimating lake evaporation. Okay, the methods for estimating evaporation. Potential evaporation defined as the quantity of water evaporated per unit area per unit time from an idealized extensive free surface under existing atmospheric condition. The potential area of a given area varies daily or changes, and it's following the variation of the weather. There are three common methods of estimating potential evaporation: the aerodynamic method, combination method, and energy balance method. And I'll be focusing into the energy balance method. Energy balance method is widely used for estimating the amount of evaporation from a large body of water such as lakes, reservoir, etc. Consider an evaporation pan of a circular tank containing water, in which the rate of evaporation is measured by the rate of fall of the water surface, or the rate of evaporation equal to the change in water table over time. Based on the continuity and energy equation, one can derive the energy balance equation for evaporation as the rate of evaporation equal to the 1 over latent heat vaporization times to the density of water, then multiplied to the net radiation minus the sensible heat flux minus the ground heat flux. If the sensible heat flux and the ground heat flux are both zeros, therefore evaporation are simplified calculated as rate of evaporation equal to net radiation over latent heat vaporization times the density of water. Example, calculate by the energy method by the evaporation rate from an open surface water if the net radiation is 200 watt per square meter and the air temperature is 25 degrees, assuming no sensible heat or ground heat flux. So the formula is ER is equal to Rn is equal to latent heat vaporization times the raw density, where we substitute the given value, where Rn is equal to 200 watt over the latent evaporization, that is 241 times to the unit weight of water, that is 1000 times to the density of water, that is 997. So we calculated as 8.218 times 10 raised to negative 8 meter per seconds. So when we calculated the potential energy, we have to multiply it to 8.218 time raised to negative 8 meter per second. We have to multiply to 1000 mm over meter times 864 886,400 seconds per day. So we calculated it and gives 7.10 meter per day, millimeter per day. And we go to the net radiation. Net radiation is the balance between incoming and outgoing energy at the top of the atmosphere. And this image shows the instrument that you gathered the short and long radiation. And this part and this gives the it gathered the short wave radiation, and this will gather the long radiation. And this measures the radiant energy by the ground. And the net radiation Rn is input of radiation of the surface at any instant. It is the difference between the radiation absorbed or the incoming radiation times the 1 minus albedo, where Ri is the indent radiation and the emitted radiation. And this is the formula. Rn is equal to Ri times 1 minus the albedo minus the emitted radiation, or the Re. And this is the plausible for daily means short wave radiation reflection or the given albedo. There are an example of the net radiation. What would be the net radiation if the isolation were 1200 watt per square meter? The albedo of the surface was 0.33, emissivity was 0.90, and the albedo of the surface was 0.33. The temperature was 325 K or Kelvin, and downward long wave radiation was 313 watt per square meter. And the solution, so given the Rs is 1200 watt per square meter, and the alpha or the albedo is 0.33, and the emissivity is 0.90, and the temperature is 325 Kelvin. And for the downward radiation or the long wave radiation is 313 watt per meter square. And the constant Boltzmann is 5.67 times to 10 negative 8. And the solution we're going to solve the Rn. Where the formula is Rn is equal to Ri 1 minus the albedo minus the emitted radiation Re. Simply, we can simplify the formula. Rn is equal to Rs or equal to Ri. They are the same. And for the albedo, but for the Re or the emitted radiation, we simplify it. Plus okay, we substitute the given to the formula, or Rs is equal to 1200 times the 1 minus the albedo is 0.33 minus the emissivity is 0.90 times the Boltzmann constant 5.67 times 10 raised to negative 8 times the temperature is 325 plus the net long wave radiation, that is 313. So we calculated it as 547.68 watt per square meter. Oh, that is the answer. Okay, that's all for my report, and my classmates will continue to report about the methods of estimating lake evaporation.
I'm Ivy Gemaline Arcabahar at ngayon i-discuss ko ang methods of estimating lake evaporation. So, ito po ay evaporation from water surface that can be determined from the following methods. First one is the storage equation, which is P plus I plus minus O sub G equals to E plus O plus minus S. So, dun kasi sa may plus minus, pwede po kasi siyang maging negative or magiging positive. Wherein P is equals, siya ay precipitation, I, surface inflow, O sub G, subsurface inflow or outflow. Yung E naman po is evaporation, O, surface outflow, and S is the change in surface water storage. Next one is auxiliary ponds like land ponds, floating ponds, Colorado, sunken ponds, etc. Next naman is evaporation formula like that kay Dalton's law. Next is humidity and wind velocity gradients. Next is the energy budget. So the method na ito, which is involves too many hydrometeorological factors or yung tinatawag na variables with too much, and hence it is specialist approach. Next is the water budget, which is similar to the first one. Then combination of aerodynamic and energy balance equation or the Penman's equation na nag-i-involve pa rin yung maraming variables. Next po ay pitch evaporimeter. Ito po ay usually kept suspended in a Stevenson screen na nakikita sa PowerPoint, yung picture. It consists of this of filtered paper kept constantly saturated with water from a graduated glass tube. So yung picture doon. Then, the loss of water from the tube over a known period gives the average rate of evaporation. True is a simple instrument. The readings obtained are often more erratic than those from standard plants. Next naman is measures to reduce o pagbabawas ng lake evaporation. Measures to reduce lake evaporation. So the following are some recommended measurements to reduce evaporation from water surfaces. Next, first one is the storage reservoir of more depth and less surface area. Example, by choosing a cross-section of like a deep gorge, while the surface water is exposed to temperature gradients, The deeper waters from this standpoint, a large reservoir is preferable to a number of small reservoirs. Next recommendation is by growing tall trees like casuarina on the windward side of the reservoir to act as windbreaker. So nag-act daw siya para maging windbreakers. Stop mo. Okay. Next recommendation, by spraying certain chemicals or fatty acids and formation of films, by spreading a monomolecular layer of acetyl alcohol over the reservoir in surface. A film is formed on the surface which is only 0.015 approximation in thickness. It is a polar compound and it has great affinity of water on one side and repels water on the other side. Next recommendation, by allowing flow of water, temperature is reduced and evaporation is reduced. By example, by designing the outlet work so that the warmer surface water can be raised. Next one is by removing the water-loving weeds and plants like pteridophytes from the periphery of the reservoir. Our next recommendation, by strengthening the stream channels, the exposed area of the water surface is reduced and hence evaporation is reduced then. By providing mechanical coverings like thin polythene sheets to small agricultural ponds and lakes. Next one is by developing our underground reservoir. Since the evaporation from the groundwater table is very much less than the evaporation from the water surface o yung mga doon nga sa open surface like lakes. And the last one, if the reservoir is surrounded by huge trees and forests, the evaporation loss will be less due to cooler environment. So dito, kapag napapaligiran daw siya ng mga puno or yung mga puno, mas less yung evaporation kasi nga mas malamig yung environment na nakapaligid dito.